He heard a little girl crying deep in the mountain forest. He followed the voice and lost all sense of direction. After rescue, he learned, a 7-year-old girl had gone missing on that mountain 30 years ago. She has never been found. Takeshi, an avid hiker, was walking alone on a forested mountain trail in autumn. He had drifted off the marked path without noticing and found himself surrounded by dense trees. He was deciding whether to turn back when he heard a child sobbing somewhere in the trees. It sounded like a small girl crying. Thinking a child might be lost, Takeshi moved toward the sound. But each time he drew closer, the sound retreated deeper into the forest. "Hello, is someone there? Are you okay?" he called out. The crying continued without pause. He had been following the sound for nearly 30 minutes. He checked his phone. He had walked 4 kilometers off the trail. He tried to retrace his steps, but his own footprints had vanished. The forest looked identical in every direction. Then the crying stopped. Directly behind him, a small voice whispered, "This way." He spun around. No one was there. Takeshi ran, but every direction led back to the same trees. As darkness fell, he sheltered in place. A mountain rescue team found him the following morning. When he described what had happened, the team leader's face went pale. "That voice has been reported for decades. Everyone who follows it gets lost," the leader said. 30 years ago, a 7-year-old girl had gone missing on this mountain. Her body was never found. Takeshi felt cold. Had that whispered, "This way," been her voice? Was she guiding, or was she trying to take someone with her? He has not returned to that mountain. But still he dreams of a dark forest, and a small voice calling, "This way." The next story is about a man guided to safety through mountain fog by a stranger no one can explain. A smiling old man appeared from the fog and guided him safely down the mountain. The next day when he tried to thank him, the man's face matched a photograph on the lodge wall, a hiker who had vanished 50 years ago and was never found. Shinichi, a company employee, headed alone into the mountains during an autumn holiday. He reached the summit, but thick fog rolled in as he began his descent. Visibility dropped to a few meters and the trail markers disappeared. His phone battery was dead. The sun was setting. Shinichi felt panic rising. Then an old man appeared from the fog ahead. He wore an old-fashioned climbing outfit and had pure white hair. "Lost?" the old man said pleasantly. "Let me take you down." Shinichi followed without hesitation. The old man walked through the fog without any sign of uncertainty. An hour later, the mountain lodge at the trailhead came into view. Shinichi turned to thank the old man, but the fog had swallowed him whole. He told the lodge keeper about his guide. The keeper's expression stiffened. "What did he look like?" the keeper asked quietly. After Shinichi described the man, the keeper turned to the wall behind him. A row of photographs was pinned there, hikers who had gone missing on this mountain. The keeper pointed to one. The face was an exact match. "This is Tanaka Zenkichi. He disappeared on this mountain 50 years ago." Shinichi could not speak. "Others have said the same thing," the keeper added. "A white-haired old man in old gear guides them out of the fog. Always the same description. Always your fog." The remains of Tanaka Zenkichi have never been found in 50 years. Was the man who guided Shinichi truly Tanaka? Or was it something else, wearing Tanaka's face? Shinichi still cannot say whether his guide that day was living or dead. The old man still appears, they say, whenever the fog rolls in on that mountain. No one has ever found an answer to who, or what, he is. The next story is about a woman who could not stop returning to the same forest stump no matter which direction she walked. No matter which direction she walked, she always returned to the same enormous stump with a lightning bolt split down the center. Her compass was useless. Her phone showed only 2 hours had passed, but she knew she had been walking for a full day and had slept there once. Now, a photographer entered a remote mountain forest to photograph autumn leaves. About 2 hours in, she found a massive stump and stopped to photograph it. It had an unusual feature, a long lightning bolt crack running through its center. She walked on. 30 minutes later, she found herself in front of the same stump. She assumed she had doubled back and checked her compass. She had been walking south. The compass confirmed south. She turned east and walked with purpose. 20 minutes later, she was back at the stump. The crack matched exactly, without question, the same stump. She tied her red hair tie around one of the roots and headed north. An hour later, the stump appeared ahead, red tie already on it. The tie had arrived before her. Now sat down. Wherever she walked, she ended up here. She tried calling for help. No signal in any direction. She checked the time. 2 hours had elapsed since she first found the stump. It felt like an entire day. Night fell. She made camp beside the stump. In the middle of the night she heard laughter from inside the stump. At dawn she found a small piece of paper folded into the crack. It read, "The exit is below the stump." She dug at the base with her hands. The soil gave way and revealed a hole. The hole was bright beyond its opening. She crawled through. She emerged on the mountain road at the forest entrance. She turned. The forest looked ordinary. No stump visible anywhere. Her phone showed a 2-hour walk. Her body knew she had stayed overnight. She has never been able to explain what happened inside that loop. The stump remains somewhere in that forest. She has not gone back to find it. The next story is about a hiker who stumbled into a village that should not exist, and could not find it again. When thick fog swallowed the mountain trail, a village appeared out of nowhere. The residents wore Showa-era clothing and showed no surprise at his arrival. When the fog cleared and he walked away, the village was gone. It appears on no map. Yusuke, a mountain guide, was hiking deep into unfamiliar terrain alone for a survey. Around 3 in the afternoon, a wall of fog appeared without warning. He stopped as visibility dropped to almost nothing. Then he saw lights flickering in the fog ahead. He walked toward them and found a cluster of a dozen or so houses. People were outside, working in their yards. Their clothes were old, the style worn in rural Japan around 1970. He called out. An elderly woman turned and said, "A traveler, are you?" He explained he was lost in the fog. "Stay the night," she said simply, and led him inside. The house was filled with old furniture and tools from decades past. A wall calendar was visible from where he sat, Showa 47. He stared at it. Showa 47 was 1972 in the Western calendar. He ate dinner with the family. They spoke of the harvest and the weather. He slept beside the Irori fire pit and woke when birds began to sing. The fog had cleared. He thanked the woman and set out. 20 minutes down the trail, he looked back. The village was gone. He returned to where it had stood. Deep, unbroken forest. No footprints, no fire ash, no trace of a structure anywhere. Back in town, he searched official records. He found it, a mountain hamlet abandoned in 1972 when its last resident died. Yusuke held his breath. Were those villagers still living in 1972, unaware of what had come after? Or had he, somehow, spent the night in a year that was 50 years gone? Does the kind old woman still wait beside her fire pit for the next lost traveler? Yusuke has walked that trail many times since. The fog has never returned. The village remains gone. The next story is about a man who found his dead friend waiting for him at the mountain summit. When he reached the summit, his best friend was sitting on a rock waiting for him. The the same friend who had died in a mountain accident 6 months ago. They walked down together. At the trailhead, he turned around. He was alone. Yoichi climbed the mountain on his best friend Ken's birthday, the first birthday since Ken had died there 6 months before. Ken had slipped and fallen on a winter climb. Witnesses confirmed the fall. His body was never recovered. Yoichi made the autumn climb alone, in Ken's memory. It was a clear, bright day. At the summit, a figure sat on the rocks. He recognized the silhouette before he could see the face. The figure turned. It was Ken. "Took you long enough," Ken said with a grin. That was always his line. Yoichi could not move. "Ken, you're dead." His voice barely came out. "I know," Ken said, unfazed. "I've been waiting up here." Yoichi approached slowly. Ken looked solid, real, present. "Come on, let's go down," Ken said, standing. They walked together. The trail felt familiar and warm. Ken talked about the old days as they descended. Old hiking stories, old jokes. It felt completely normal. Yoichi kept stealing glances at his friend. Still there, still solid. "Ken," Yoichi said, "if you're dead, why are you here?" Ken walked a few steps in silence before answering. "I knew you'd come. I knew you wouldn't leave me here alone." Yoichi felt tears coming. "You've been up there all this time." "It wasn't so bad," Ken said quietly. "You came, didn't you?" The trailhead parking lot appeared below. As they reached it, Ken said nothing more. Yoichi turned. No one was beside him. He stood alone in the empty parking lot in the slanting autumn light. He got into his car and sat with his hands on the wheel for a long time. Ken is still up there, waiting. Yoichi is certain of it.